In 2008, I graduated from university with a degree in history and politics. 15 years later, I'm now running a business, growing, selling and promoting unusual varieties of herb plants all across the internet. This is the story of how this happened, and also whether I regret any of these choices over the last 15 years. Like many people, I graduated without any idea what to do. I knew that I'd always enjoyed gardening and growing things, and while I'd been a student, I found great delight in planting up the garden of the rented house where we lived. I decided to study for a course in horticulture while working for a wholesale plant nursery. This plan didn't work out because after only a few weeks I completely ran out of money, had to quit the course, and decided that the way I was going to make my living was to study, wait for it, a master's in the history of religion. But I needed to earn some money to pay for the tuition fees to be able to do this course, and I came up with a master plan. My mum and dad very kindly agreed to let me build a polytunnel in their back garden. My plan was to pot up thousands of little baby plug plants, pot them on into larger pots and sell them at local markets, which should pay for the tuition fees. It was perfect because I'd be able to do this while studying for the degree. I was going to employ the same business principles that I'd learned at that wholesale plant nursery, potting up these bug plants, letting them grow on over the winter, and then selling them on at that increased price. What could possibly go wrong? The truth is I did this without much experience at all, but I taught myself, and it all went really, really well. I genuinely wrote my thesis while sitting in the polytunnel you can see on your screen right now. But I loved the time that I spent in this polytunnel surrounded by the energy of new growth. That first winter was a steep learning curve, as I realised that the weather doesn't always play along. But I loved feeling engaged with the seasons like this. The whole family got involved, as you can see here. Mum loved being out in the polytunnel, helping me out, and I think we all got addicted to spending time out there. Spring arrived, the plants absolutely bloomed. I stood outside a local church selling the plants every single Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. We went to some larger markets as well, and I was amazed at how popular these plants were. The plan was working. These were really quite long days, and sometimes I didn't take very much money. But I was loving meeting people, I was loving working with the plants. This money was starting to cover my tuition fees. We went to busier markets, to farmers markets. We started to focus mainly on the herbs, and once again the family are still involved, as you can see here from the pictures. My brother, my mom, my girlfriend, my now wife, she got roped in as well. We were having a great time. It became a lifestyle, travelling around to these markets, sharing our love of these amazing plants. Some long days working in town centres. Sometimes things went wrong, or the weather didn't play along. But we never lost our sense of humour. We were loving this lifestyle, and these were really happy times spent working with the plants. I'm smiling just watching back this video with you guys. We made some friends for life, from so many different walks of life and backgrounds. And I had some really special moments, up at 4:30 a.m, 5 a.m, just me and the buzzards and a beautiful sky. I used to love watching the watering system going on a warm morning. And the growing continued. The growing story continued. I carried on potting up plants, working with other nurseries as well to increase the amount of stock that we could sell. The business was, excuse the pun, growing rapidly. The truth is, I'm not sure when it was that I realised that this was no longer a short-term plan to pay off my tuition fees. We were now wonderfully trapped in the rhythm of growing, of spring, summer. And we went to some amazing events. We went to places that we never thought we'd be able to go to. This was our life every single summer. We got busier, we got known. When we went to big shows, our stand was rammed all day long. This was a full-time job. We love travelling around, sharing this goodwill. The family are still there at all these shows. I'm smiling watching this back, I can't help it. We loved going to food festivals, sharing the joy of growing, sharing the joy of these plants. But importantly, at the centre of everything that I was doing was still a love of growing. VAT returns hadn't diminished the joy of growing, and increasingly I started to share this joy on social media, sharing my challenge to grow the world's biggest Naga chili plant. It didn't work, but I loved harvesting the chilies, and more importantly, I loved sharing it with so many people on the internet. I started to share how to grow guides that proved really popular, and I loved the feedback that I was getting from other people who didn't come to horticulture the traditional way. We went into the 2020 growing season, a season like no other, planning a busy season of events, but as the pandemic arrived, we realised that every single one of our events had been cancelled. And as we walked round supermarkets emptied by panic buying, we realised that our business was in ruins. There was no way that we could sell all those plants. We had to reinvent ourselves. Really upset. I remember sitting outside in the garden and doing what human beings have done throughout the years when faced with challenges or adversity. We grow things. I went outside and I planted potatoes, and while doing so, came up with a plan to send the herb plants in the post. I put an appeal on social media, asking people to place orders with us, and loads of people responded. Before we knew it, we were inundated with orders. It turns out that gardening had become the nation's favourite hobby during lockdown. In only a matter of days, we went from never having sent a plant in the post before to sending literally thousands of orders. It got out of control in a really wonderful way. We spent hours packing the plants into boxes. But this was more than just e-commerce. We added birthday messages to customers' orders. We felt really privileged that we were allowed to send orders to people's houses during this period of social distancing. We put the herbs into collections. We created the boozy collection, the stir-fry collection. We had loads of fun with it, and we built more growing spaces. We built a new tunnel. We recovered the older tunnels. Yeah, I got really good at DIY. And that's one of the things that I've learned from the last 15 years, that when you're running your own business like this, you have to be a bit of a jack of all trades. I've learned so many skills over the course of the last 15 years, and I feel really lucky to have done so. I also feel really lucky to have had the support over those years of so many amazing family members, and now to be able to work full-time with my wife. This isn't absolutely the route that I would have chosen in terms of career progression in life, but I find myself really happy with where we've ended up, living this genuine, growing lifestyle. I feel privileged to be able to lead my life like this. The business continues to grow, but I feel happy, and the mental well-being benefits that this job provides me are so much more important than the perks that might come with a more traditional job. It's the importance of the wonderful everyday, of experiencing the seasons, of watching things grow, of seeing people's reactions to these amazing plants. In 2023, I published my first book talking about the joy of growing herbs, something that my former academic self would have been so happy about. And I love sending these plants out in the post every single week to our amazing customers. Most importantly, I don't regret anything about the last 15 years. The last 15 years that give me so many happy memories, but more importantly, a sense of mental well-being, of being connected with the seasons, perks that money could never buy. I'm lucky to have a business that supports me, it supports my family, and it provides employment to my family members as well. If I could go back and talk to the guy in this picture, I'd say, it's going to be great. Thanks so much for sharing this video with me.